we've got Matthew Gardner here, who has been Windermere's chief economist going on somewhere like 30 years, 28 years. And he's now gone out on his own. He's national, and you'll see him all over doing lots of different things. We're very proud to have him here with us again for what is this, our 4th or 5th year together?
It's always on your birthday, isn't it?
It is,
yeah.
Yes. Well, because my birthday's at the beginning of the year, and that's the best time to talk to you.
There you go.
So everybody give Matthew a big round of applause. There'll be time at the end to ask questions.
You can sit down now.
Oh. I did introduce Dee, but what I failed to say is Darren is not here because he's also sick. But thank you to Darren. And Rich and Nathan are here also on my team. And Hannah also is not able to be here tonight. But thank you all for being here, and I hope you enjoyed the event. Feel free to grab me.
Thank you. Can you do that for lights? Oh, look at that.
There you go.
Hello. Hello. How are you?
Good.
Hi.
Excellent. Hi, I'm fine.
I know you are. Okay.
But it's so much fun.
Yeah, oh boy, he's going to keep her away from the teetoters.
I'm not normally like this.
Well, thank you for taking time out of your schedules. Coming here from Seattle, I live downtown, of course, hit I-90, hit the bridge, and it starts snowing. What is it about the east side? Come across the other rain, it's very weird. Anyway, so I'm going to give you, those of you, have you seen me speak before?
Yes.
Yeah. I have to do a very brief talk about what's going on nationally in terms of the economy. Then we'll talk about financing costs, then we'll distill it down, start talking a bit about the 4-county area, kind of the greater Puget Sound, and then end up with a quick look at what's going on in King County on the housing market. It's been an interesting few years. Really, it seems like COVID was so long ago, but the implications and the impacts of it are still there. So let's start out. I'm awake at 4:30 every morning, certainly this morning. Why? Because inflation numbers came out, kind of things that geeks like me wait for every month. And you can see here, let's look at inflation, all items which is obviously the headline number, 9%, terrible back in the day. Core inflation, which actually excludes food and energy, most volatile sectors. Bottom line is, was horrible, and it is coming down. Why is that important? The Fed. I blame the Fed for everything. My kids, bad teeth, bad grades, blame the Fed. I do that for a very simple reason. The Fed's got what's called a dual mandate, and that is full employment and price stability or stable inflation. I could argue all day long that those two things can't go hand in hand, but that's a topic for maybe a glass of wine later on. The point being is that they raised interest rates at the fastest rate in over 42 years in order to try and slow the economy down. Now, there's an issue with that, and the issue is that every time they do it, they do a really crappy job, and we end up having a recession. They're trying to orchestrate what's called a soft landing, slow the economy down, at the same time, not slow it down so much that we tip over the edge into a cyclical recession. About a year ago, I said, I think they can do it. Every other analyst out there was laughing at me like Gardner, English idiot. But they're starting to change their minds. I think this time around, they may well achieve that soft landing they've only got right twice in history. Been a long time. Volcker got it right once, and Greenspan I think did. But other than that, it's been bad. The bottom line is, it is coming down. Now, as inflation comes down, are the Fed done with raising rates? Yes, I believe they are. However, Wall Street would like a significant drop in rates this year. They're pricing in 6 or 7 drops in the Fed funds rate. Poppycock, it's an English thing. No, not going to happen. I think they want them to start in March, the next meeting. That won't happen. I expect them to start in May. I expect to see probably 100 bits, 4% drop in the Fed funds rate. And that's really still going to take it to a level which will still be above by the end of the year where the 10-year Treasury is. So we've still got an inverted yield curve, which I won't get into that. The point being is that it's coming down in my forecast. The core rate is this. The 4% for the quarter, nailed that one on the head. Coming down, continuing to drop, will be down probably around 2.5% by the end of this year. That's going to be a good thing for lots of reasons. Housing is one of them, which I'll get to in a little bit. So that's getting better. The labour market also is showing good signs. I look at employee quits. Why do we quit work? We quit work when we have something better down the road. At the same time, on average, if you change jobs, your wages go up by approximately 9%. So we quit when the economy, when we think, well, it's a really shortage of people out there to hire. We've certainly seen that through COVID. We have a massive labour shortage. Why? COVID came along, a lot of our more mature workers said, hell with this, I'm out. And they retired. And a lot of our younger workers had an early midlife crisis. I don't know what to do. And they left the workforce as well. So very tight labour market, but they are quitting less. In fact, quits are down 23% from their peak. And also layoffs have picked up at the same time. Now this is interesting. Yes, the labour market's tight, but businesses are saying, well, maybe I won't hire more. I'll just make my workers work harder. That's productivity increases. So yes, the things I look at saying, are things slowing down in a methodical way? I think they are. But the issue we had up until this point is this is wages. And here I break it down into high, mid and low skilled workers. Generally speaking, wages go up by about 3.5% per year. 2% inflation, 1.5% productivity growth equals 3.5%. And then COVID came along. And then when companies were trying to reopen again and hire workers back, yeah, there weren't enough out there. Wages went parabolic. Is that inflationary? Yes, it is. And especially in the low-skilled cohort. So that's going to be bars, restaurants, hotels. That means that your cocktail will cost you more, your hotel room will cost you more, your steak will cost you more in order to pay people. Is that inflationary? Absolutely it is. But again, it has rolled over. Now we will see wages up this year, probably around 5%, so still above the level you'd expect to see, but again, the trend is going the right way. Job growth slowing. Now December number was high. I came in at 165, I was wrong. Downward revisions to October, November, but look at that quarterly growth. Was 221,000 in Q3, 165 in Q4. Again, going the right way. And this is my forecast, so I should probably explain this. That 109 number means in this quarter, Q1, we should have added 109,000 jobs in America per month on average. But then dropping down significantly. Now, we're not going to turn negative. Some people are expecting we will turn modestly negative. I don't see that, but it will slow down a lot, mainly the second half of this year. And the unemployment rate, oh, the humanity, we will peak at a whopping 4.3%. Literally. And again, a lot of this is because we're not growing the labour pool as much as we used to. For a lot of reasons. One, certainly retirement. A lot of baby boomers are now aging out of the workforce. But for several years, we actually shut down our borders. That's not a good thing. You can't do that. You can't live on births minus deaths, because those numbers I'll show you why a bit later on make no sense. So yeah, unemployment rate's going to go up. Employment growth is going to slow, but I'm not seeing a recession. How we define recessions, 2 negative quarters. You can say, well, Gardner, we had one. That was COVID, didn't count. But my forecast is this. I think we'll get away with it. I'm not expecting to see recession, but some of my colleagues who are, well, they're kind of, they don't call economics a dismal science for nothing. I mean, we have forecast 9 out of the last 5 recessions. That was an economics joke, by the way. Yeah, don't tell the jokes. Anyway, generally speaking, people are saying that they are still out there thinking we will have a modest recession. It's not 2007. It is not 2001. It's a lot like 1991. Where for most of us, we had a recession, didn't even know. And so if we do see it, it's really going to be modest. Again, I'm just not seeing it. The numbers are not telling me a different story. So, yeah, there's a chance, 20% we'll see a contraction. Tighter credit. Banks, as you probably found out, are being very cautious, very stingy in lending money today, mainly because of the concern over a contraction plus their cost of funds. Yeah, resilience is waning, okay, but the Fed is walking a tightrope. It wants to get it right. I think it will. I was talking to a friend of mine, Mary, the head of the Philadelphia Fed, and they won't say it publicly, but they're saying, yeah, we're definitely done, but I just don't see how we can see reduced interest rates as quickly as Wall Street would want. Not surprising. All right, how about locally? Yeah, good on one side, not so good on the other. We've seen a fairly significant drop in business services and information. Again, that is a lot of the tech layoffs. People were worried about that. Don't be worried about it. They were just cutting some of the fat. They were overhiring egregiously for a number of years. Now saying, yeah, not going to happen. And at the same time, they want people to come back to work. Oh boy, do they want to come back. They're not quite going as bad as kind of Elon Musk, which is, thou shalt be here 7 days a week, or I'm firing you. But we are seeing, certainly a lot of major companies, T-Mobile layoffs are one thing, but if you look at Amazon, I mean, they're saying, yeah, you've got to come back. And certainly they're going to push more and more. But will it be going back to work 5 days a week again? No. I think that world's gone. I really do.
Except Boeing just mandated 5 days a week.
I said in general. Yeah, you're going to see some. But again, it depends on the company and also on the industry as well. Boeing, if you're looking at manufacturing, then yeah, you've got to go in. You can't really do that work remotely.
Right, but I think they're corporate folk.
I'm sure they're pushing it, both in Renton and Everett, but that is in isolation, I think, in general. I just don't expect to see it.
Yeah.
We tried it back in the early 90s, right? It's a panacea. Cure all ills. Cure everything, problems with traffic and everything else. It didn't work for two reasons. One, the employers, they weren't Google keystroke loggers back then. They thought you were watching The Young and the Restless all day long. And the employees missed the symbiosis of chats around the water cooler. And those two things are pretty much in place now. But it's also declining productivity. Some people came out with analysis that said, I think it's from Harvard, that productivity jumped through COVID remote working. The New York Fed came out with a more robust analysis a while ago and said, yeah, guess what? No, you're wrong. It's actually the opposite. You think about it, how quick is it for you to go down the hall and ask a question as opposed to try and get hold of somebody on Zoom? Doesn't work. So, two things in that respect, one of which is those people in early COVID who said, great, working from home, I'm out, I'm going to move to Yakima. Yeah, a couple did, most didn't, thankfully. But what we did see, because of remote working, is a resurgence of the ex-urban markets and suburban markets. There's a value to our time. We will put up with a lousy commute, if it's only a couple of days a week or 3, if that means I can actually go further out and afford to either buy somewhere bigger, all these other factors. So those are certainly coming into play. Jobless rate, 3.6, in our metro area, really not a big problem at all, and growth. We're waiting on December numbers for employment. Again, a bit north of 20,000 jobs were added this year. Modestly below that next year, not negative by any stretch of the imagination, but certainly below that long-term average. You expect to see somewhere between 35 to 40,000 jobs per year in the metro area. Briefly down to Tacoma, looking good. Here's the worry I have. Anytime Tacoma's looking good, we have a recession. I kid you not. It's like every time Saks Fifth Avenue says it's going to move into downtown Seattle, we have a recession. It's one of the, I've seen them do it 3 times since I've been here in Seattle. Quite interesting. Growing well. They're not big on information, transportation, warehousing, but in general, education, government, business services, still adding jobs year over year. The jobless rate's a bit higher, but still looking pretty good down south. So I really think potentially that South End market might be ripe to actually start doing something a bit more. It's always tried, but it's always had a big problem to try and get companies to really jump over from Seattle, because businesses expand in waves. They don't do big jumps. So like it'll get through Renton to Michael Crisol project. It will work its way south, I think. But I think Tacoma will get there before everyone else. Yeah, it'll be slower than we like. Watch biotech. I live in Queen Anne. There's 3 brand new biotech buildings. For anyone that's involved in construction, you know they are expensive to build. I mean, really, really expensive to build. And they're sat waiting there. The trouble with biotech is these biotech companies are either poorer than church mice or richer than Croesus. They really are. But I honestly believe that you'll find some entity based in our region will find a cure for any form of cancer in the next 5 years, hopefully. So I think where we could see some further layoffs or slowdown in business services in information, that may well be offset by growth in the biotech sector, which shows work, yeah. Last year I gave a speech to the Puget Sound Business Journal, and I said back then that we could have a recession, and business leaders started applauding. Like, wait, what? I said the R word, you're supposed to hate it. They're like, hell no, this is great. Why? Well, they believe the shoe can move on to the other foot. Because right now, up until then, employees were saying, nobody come back to work. You try too hard, I'm going to quit. I'll go down the street, make more money. Very tight labour force, we just talked about that. Right, it starts, the unemployment rate starts to notch up a bit, the economy slow down a bit, and then maybe the employer can say, guess what, buddy, you are going to come back. Now, I really think we'll see it, but again, I just don't see us nationally in aggregate moving back to a 5-day back in the office again. I think that those days are gone. It will be interesting to see how that plays out over time. All right, housing, thing you wanted to talk about. Get a cocktail. No, really get a cocktail. No, not you. All right, so mortgage rates. You all know mortgage rates are based on the yield on 10-year treasuries. Ever since they were created back in April 1971, take the yield on 10-year paper, put a 1.7% premium. There's got to be a risk associated with the mortgage over a bond. Where there is no risk, that's your mortgage rate. Bonds historically have been the grown-ups in the room. They're steady, they're sure, they just do their thing, very boring. Not so much. They're going through COVID, all of a sudden, where you thought equities and crypto were the weird ones, now all of a sudden bonds are doing the same thing. Now, because mortgage rates are based on bonds, there's a couple of things I'll talk about that in a minute, is that they've been reacting to every minor comment or statements made by the Fed or economic announcement. Now, why do I say blame the Fed? Remember I said blame the Fed, blame them for everything? No. There is a reason why mortgage rates on 30-year fixed got below 3%. They should never have got that low, ever, ever, ever. It was fake, it was a fraud, it shouldn't have happened. No, it shouldn't. But why did they do it? The Fed wanted housing stability through COVID. That makes sense. Moratoria on evictions, great for renters. Forbearance, which was, by the way, a brilliant, brilliant scheme, whereby you could not pay your mortgage, you would not get foreclosed on, but at the end of that forbearance period, you had to make the bank right. Okay? It was brilliant. That came out in April 2020. By end of May 2020, 1 in 10 homes in America was in forbearance. 1 in 10. Right now, 0.2%. And there were back then a lot of people saying, this is great, I'm not going to buy now, I'm going to wait. And I'm going to wait and wait, and eventually we'll see this tsunami of foreclosures, and I'll pick up a home on the cheap. What do they see? They missed out on close to 30% price growth, literally, and mortgage rates below 3%. So that was a bad thing. But they not only wanted that housing stability, they wanted to encourage us to move, to buy homes. Why? Very simple. What do we do when we buy a home? We buy stuff, big stuff, literally. So they went on their own spending spree. What do I mean by that? They started buying up mortgage-backed securities and 10-year treasuries. A lot of them. How much, you ask? $2.4 trillion. That's 12 zeros, by the way. It's a lot of money. And that pushed mortgage rates down below. Who bought a home or refinanced through COVID? Yeah, I refinanced twice. Literally, I've got a 2% 20-year fixed rate mortgage. It's ridiculous. And that is going to be a problem, which I'll get to in a minute. Anyway.
Is it assumable?
Pardon? No, I wish it was.
Well, there are the assumable loans out
Well,
there.
yes, there are, but not this particular one.
Right.
But if you look at this is mortgage rate. So I mentioned about bonds not behaving. So good treasury auction we saw started last year, rates dropped down. Uh-oh, inflation, not worried. Rates went up. Banking crisis, remember that? Fun time. That pushed yields down again. Then we had a big jobs report, then we had the debt ceiling debacle. And then GDP got revised higher, and inflation started slowing, came back down again. And then the Fed raised rates, Bank of Japan started selling treasuries higher for longer until, wow, again, the fastest drop in mortgage rates we've seen. Now, real estate brokers started calling me up a lot saying, this is great, we're going to be back at 4% by the end of the year. No, we're calm down a bit, cool your jets. Not going to happen. And we actually have seen it notch back up recently. But what we have seen is that steady overall the direction is going where I want to see it. But blame the Fed. All of you that refinanced, all of you that bought with those ridiculously low rates, this is the first meme that I have ever created.
How do you feel about it?
You will pry my 2% mortgage from my cold, dead fingers.
That's right. All those
That is
things
what-
you had to move?
Right, that is what they didn't understand them. All of a sudden we have these golden handcuffs on us. Now, that is what I'll get to the housing by a minute, but we're in a situation now. Now, give you an idea, I pulled data for Washington State for the third quarter. Right now, 84.3% of homeowners with a mortgage in the state, single-family homes, have mortgage rates at 5% or lower. 1 in 4 homes has a rate at 3% or lower. What they tried to help the housing market, and they actually did the opposite. People are still moving. Carrie's still selling homes with her team, absolutely. For 3 of the 4 reasons people move. Job change, death, divorce, yep, they're moving. You're missing the last D, discretionary, the choice to move. And those are people saying, yeah, I want to, but, and there's 2 groups in that respect. One are the move down buyers, who are, they are the baby boomers looking to retire. Supposedly, they're supposed to be downsizing, most aren't, but they should be. And you've also got the millennials. Millennials, they're an interesting group. They're getting old though. A million millennial women are having babies every year right now. It's kind of interesting. But they are moving out of casual hookups into real relationships, having babies, and wanting to buy a home. So you've got a lot of people out there. And after that, you've got the Gen Z lot. Now, I'm Gen X, we just hate everyone. Which is totally fine by me. But we have got a pent-up demand out there. And that's going to be pent-up demand, I think, for at least the next decade, if not 15 to 20 years. But where are they going to find the housing? And again, we've got a lot of people who are, yes, they might want to move, but right now, it's just tough for them to make that decision when mortgage rates are where they are today. So, we're in that situation now. This is my forecast. Repeat, mortgage rates last quarter at 7.3. That average, just a hair over 7% this quarter, trending down would be around 6 by the end of this year. I still think that's fine. A lot of mortgage brokers and certainly real estate brokers as well are saying, yeah, where's my 3% mortgages again? No, wasn't going to happen. We'll get into the 5s next year, but I think the terminal rate, terminal being the long-term rate for 30 fixed mortgage, is 5 to 5.5. It just makes sense. I don't see it coming down. It doesn't make sense. Now you can have times when it's below, depending on economic activity. That is short, but the longer term trend, that's just going to be the way it's going to be. And I still think that's cheap. October 1982, mortgage rates for 18% plus points, for 20%. Still bought homes.
Yeah.
That's what exactly
Premium
what.
money, happy that I had an 8% loan.
Well, exactly. But they came down significantly every decade.
Yeah.
The trouble is they can't go down to 0. It doesn't matter. So then you find out where that terminal rate is. So yeah, they're coming down. But will this act as an obstacle? Yes, it will. The housing market in 2 ways. One, it is going to be because of supply. We're not building enough still on the new construction side. On the resale side, yes, getting people to move. However, I think last year was probably the worst year we'll see. I expect we'll see sales up probably 15% this year over last year, going the right direction. But rates, as they drop down to within 1 to 1.5% the rate somebody currently has, then they will sell. And it's compelling. But if the spread is 3-4%, hell no, they won't. So over time, they will go the right direction. And I have an occasional Zoom happy hour with some buddies of mine, the chief economist of Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, Mortgage Bank. Dry group, we can be fun with a couple of cocktails. And now, Lawrence from NAR, he's behind, that was still his old forecast from October for where they'd be this quarter. That'll drop down, but the point I want you to take is this. Everyone is seeing rates significantly lower at the end of this year than they are right now. And that's going to be the positive thing. All right, so moving on from financing and the economy to housing markets. So regionally speaking, again, I thought I'd give you a kind of little idea of what's going on in the Greater Puget Sound. And you see here, between transactions, this is new listings, so that's a good way to look at it rather than just look at what's on the market. These are new homes coming to market. Massive drop off. I mean, look at that, those percentage changes. we're down anywhere between 20 and 30%. That's in terms of supply. You cannot buy what's not on the market. That's where we're at. At the same time, look at sales, okay, because you can't buy it. They've dropped off again, a bit less than that number, but still significant decline in transactions. There's something to say, well, hang on, this is going on, look at this, it's terrible. And look, actually, it's quite interesting if you look at 2022. So it actually started coming down before, it's not just last year, actually the year before that, which actually also makes sense. See that decline, but when you look at pricing, you'll say, well, hang on, it's really bad, but pricing is going to collapse, right? No. In fact, Kitsap County eked out a 0.1% increase in the median sale price year on year. So, yeah, dropped a bit. I will give back this because I got that. Let's say here in King County for a couple of years, you're up, what, 23, 30, 38% almost, and you give a couple of points back, so what? Literally. You don't forget, housing is not fungible, it's not easily tradable. So because of that, you kind of have to play the long game in that respect. So, yeah, tight market, and it is the tight market that is to a degree supporting home values. But at the same time, when mortgage rates jump as they did, that hits affordability. And that's what scares me. And for the last 28 years, I've been doing this, and thank you for reminding me, I'm really that old. But I've been complaining about housing affordability. Because I look at it not so much for us. We've done great on our homes. I look at it for our kids and grandkids. What can they afford and where can they afford it? So it's funny, I teach at the University of Washington, and one day one of my students came to me and said, well, can I talk to Gardner? I said, yeah. Well, you're talking about these issues, but didn't you also tell us a while ago you're going to see the biggest transfer of wealth in modern history between you old people and us? Like, hey, you know I'm going to tell you, right? And he happened to be a Husky football player as well. Well, actually, Johnny, you're right. That is going to happen. But here's the thing. Yes, we want to die, we will die. We want to die with a modest hangover and bouncing a check. And so, Nina. The point being is the transfer of wealth comes in the form of real estate. The median household wealth of a homeowner household in America today is about $340,000. Median household wealth for a renter household in America today is around $10,000. How we make our wealth.
Yeah.
And so, again, you've got to play the long game and keep on spending and definitely have that hangover. All right, so on the new construction side, because there's no supply, surely we'll see it better. Yeah, I know. I mean, just think of sales. Sales dropped down. Why? We've run out of land around here, literally. Median finished lot price in King County last year, $360,000. That's for the dirt. So, land, we've run out of it. We're not expanding our urban growth boundaries, that's not going to change. So yes, House Bill 1110, we can talk about it if you wanted to, but it's still not going to help. We've run out of dirt. So land is impossible. Labour, no one's going to school to become a plumber, carpenter or electrician. I mean, my young son, William, is useless. So my son is a sophomore at Gonzaga. I mean, he's like driving like, Dad, he's like, okay, this is good, cross the pot, whatever. You need to know how to change a tyre. It's like, I know. Really? This kid is useless. He couldn't drive it anyway. I said, okay, show me. He's like, what's the phone number for AAA? What? He said, well, that's why we pay for it. Said, no, that's why I pay for it, you parasite. Again, we're not getting people into the trades. That makes construction costs expensive on the labour side. Material costs, lumber's come down, $400 per 1,000 board feet. That's good, still higher than where it needs to be. But copper, aluminum, steel, PVC pipe, tracks oil prices, expensive. So when you put all this, oh, and by the way, 25 cents of every dollar it costs to build a home in this country are regulatory fees.
Yeah.
Permit fees, water sewer hookup fees, safe salmon fees. So what does the builder do? He'll put those numbers into a bucket, spin it around and spit out a price that he has to sell the home for to make a margin. Well, if that price is 2.5 million, the market price acceptance point is 1 million, is he going to build it? No, he won't. Again, supporting resale home values, so we're not building. And also we've run out of big tracts of dirt. We've got the last two master plan communities, one in Black Diamond and one actually out by Bonnie Lake. in Pierce County. That's it. It's all infill from that point onwards. So we've seen sales, although we did see what's interesting here. Look at Sandwich County. Actually saw more transactions. Again, talks to the suburban market more than anything else, as well as for a price point. Because you look at pricing, and it's a median price. Did drop down more, but what we found is that builders have been offsetting price declines. Mortgage rate buy downs, they're big, certainly the larger builders. They're trying to, so they're taking a greater market share, but just of not as many units. Again, towards the resale market. Permits, there you go. Kind of says it all, really. And it really does. It's not pulling any permits. It's been 17 years since we last hit the long-term average, going back to 1990, in terms of single-family building permits in the 4-county area. And year to date through November. So, quite frankly, we won't hit March 2022 when we get the December numbers out. From a forecast perspective, there's about 1.05 million homeowner households in the 4-county area. My forecast for 5 years, almost 7% growth. What does that mean? We've got demand for over 71,000 new owner-occupied housing units. Oh, go back to this. Really? Not even close. Not even close. Oh, that's a depressing part. Oh, right here we go. Better part. We've made money in housing. This is the share of homeowners by county that have more than 50% equity in their homes. 50%. It's a lot. Even down in Pierce County, they broke the 50% barrier. We're sat on a ton of cash in our homes. So anyone's worrying that we're going to go back to 2007 again? No, there's just no way that can occur. But here's the affordability part. This looks at the ability for a household making median income to afford to buy a median priced house. You've got to go back to 2007 for King County to have been affordable, literally. But it's not just here. There is no county in the state of Washington that's technically affordable. And I'm including Garfield County. I'm including Wycombe County. I say that because it's just a cool name. But literally, nowhere is. But it gets worse. First-time buyer affordability. Here you're looking at lower down payment, purchasing a home that's 85% of median. Kitsap was, and Pierce was, for 1 quarter back in 2015, affordable. This is the problem we have to fix. The reason why we have to fix it is very simple. We want to encourage businesses to expand here, to grow here, to come here. 2 things that a business looks at when they're thinking about moving to any area. 1, is there a talented workforce? We are wicked smart, check that box. 2 is how much I have to pay people. Biggest component of salaries, cost of living. At what point they say, what? Yeah, no, I got to pay people how much not to live in a shoebox? They'll look elsewhere. But we've also benefited from something else here, and that is climate change. Why do I say that? Count the California license plates. All you got to do. People coming out of out of Northern California, where they sold their 1-bedroom used house for 3.2 million. Up here, like, wow, you guys are cheap. Why are they coming up here? 2 reasons. 1, taxes, both income and property taxes. 2 is climate. They're getting sick and tired of floods, fire, you name it. It's bad. And the other part about it, it's interesting, is we are becoming the Riviera of the Northwest. Maybe not today, but the weather here is getting better. So they're jumping on I-5, or the 5 as they call it, and north they come. They're not all of them coming here. A lot are going to actually Salt Lake City in Utah. A lot are going to Austin, Texas as well. You think, well, hang on, Californians, Texas, Californians, why? Well, both Austin and Salt Lake City are dots of blue in a sea of red. Salt Lake City is one of the most liberal cities in America, believe it or not. But woe betide the person that steps 1 foot out of the city limits. So they come here and they're buying up housing again. Perception is it's cheap. All right, so here, knocking down to a bit closer to home, growing, over 18% growth in the last decade. It's quite remarkable. So 2.35 million people here. But here's the thing, this dark blue bar, this is organic growth. Organic being births minus deaths. Okay? This is migration, people coming here from somewhere else. That's what's driving our growth. But let's look at it in a slightly different way. If you think about it, hard to see here, organic growth here in King County, 16,600. But look at the numbers of red you see here. More people died than were born. That's organic. But then, okay, well that's organic, but Then look at domestic migration. We lost 53,000, 54,000 people in King County. Where are they going to? Spokane, Clark. Very specifically. Spokane's got a housing affordability issue today. People are buying homes in Post Falls, Idaho, and commuting to Spokane. I was there a while ago, saw a traffic jam in downtown. I kid you not. I mean, yeah, they were going up the hill to the hospital, but there we are. It was a traffic jam. Clark County down south, they left Multnomah County in Oregon, moved across the bridge, better taxes, they still go across that bridge. That will fall down one of these days. And it really will. So we lost that much in King County. Now, that's terrible. We lost modest amounts in Stonehenge, more than that down in Pierce. Although Pierce is kind of, look at the numbers a bit closer, a lot of it because of military exposure there. But international migration. So it's not people coming here from somewhere either within the state or within the country, from overseas. We added 32,000 people here in King County. Big thing. Now, I had a big worry about that a number of years ago under the previous administration, because all of a sudden they were trying to eviscerate H-1B visas. Big problem. A lot of tech workers come over here, they try to limit the numbers, and we here in Washington State take a very significant share of them. And so we really realize, so any city, any county, any state that's saying, I'm going to rely on organic growth, don't be doing that. You'll lose. I guarantee you will lose. See, what's going to encourage people to come here? And really high housing prices doesn't help at all. All right, so hindsight, single family stuff. Okay, this is listings, long-term average. Now I adjust these for seasonality. It look like a horrible sine curve, right? Yeah, I mean it's not balanced or even close to it. And literally, it's quite remarkable. Now, if you look at list prices, this is what I like to look at: list prices. Is there a leading indicator, not a lagging indicator? Wow. We think our home, because we pruned that rhododendron tree, it's worth a hell of a lot more than the guy next door. And we do. But we see talk about that. Also, I like median because it takes away some of those anomalies. But we are 25% year on year, but they are both lower than the highs that we saw back a while ago. Sales, again, can't buy what's not on the market, down 24%, 44% of 2021. So a very significant decline in sales. Sell prices, get off that high, and they're up year over year, sure. But again, it's coming off that sugar high, that fake high that we saw because of the Fed. Am I worried about this? Not at all. I mean, it has to be, kind of what I call it almost a reversion, because we got ahead of ourselves, kind of what you have to do. Mortgage rates jump significantly, let's take a backpedal for a little bit. And it makes sense there. I always like looking at how much you're getting for your home relative to what you're asking for. This is original list price, and not the latest new revised price. Woohoo! We're averaging almost 112, 113% on list price. Most of this year, we're getting what we're asking for. Pricing is remarkably important. And you say it's a limited market, but there is a threshold everyone has. Dropped down very marginally last month, nothing to worry about. People blame institutions, they're nasty BlackRock guys. They come in here, buying up all the housing, we can't buy it, they're renting it out. No, they're not. I mean, well, just north of 4% last quarter were institutions. And that's a big thing. They're not buying here, it's too expensive. Alabama, Tennessee, Georgia is where they're buying right now. In fact, they're moving out of Georgia because people are leaving New York. More money than buying up a lot of homes in Georgia if they weren't going to go to Florida. So that's not a big part of the market, but if you want to solve the housing crisis, it's really easy. There's about 5-6 million mom and pop investors that own single family homes they rent out. They've done well, they've made a ton of money on it. They'd like to sell, but they're not going to. Why? 35% capital gains taxes. If I ruled the world, actually I said this, but I had to testify in DC at Congress and the Senate, and saying, okay, if you can figure out a way that you can get these people, somehow figure out a way to do it, it will release a good amount of supply into the marketplace, which we need. But government says, oh, hell no, we want that money, especially with a $32 trillion budget deficit, national debt that we're currently carrying. So institutions are big here, so you can't blame them. Can look at it, it's all cash buyers. 1/4 of sales for the last 3 quarters, pretty much, in all cash. Who are those people? One, they're moving out of more expensive areas, cheaper areas, on the periphery. Think about Mount Lake Terrace is a good example. The gentrification that's gone on there. People sold out of Capitol Hill, sold out of Magnolia, whatever, went up there, threw a ton of cash down, and they're also taking money out of the equity markets as well. And they're buying. Don't forget it. So cash is king in that respect. A big share are all cash. If you look at sale price year over year, yeah, there's some negatives, some big positives. Settles down a little bit, Redmond, some Amish, but the rest of it, massive jumps, massive. You think, woohoo, oh, other than Mercer Island, it's down a little bit. But that's just, you can't really take a month in isolation, especially not in December. So let's look at it based on the fact of where are you now from the peak we saw. We got a ways to go to get back to where we need to be in every market. Federal Way is doing a bit better than most, and Kent's actually improving as well as CTAC, so more affordable to a degree. The east side is very, very expensive. And so he says it's terrible. No, I mean, we were fake for a while, pulled back down. House values will continue to rise. Pricing is adjusting accordingly. So you think that changed in list price I showed you earlier on. But it's getting there. Prices dropped, 2.7 last year on average. It's not median, but I think the home prices for single family homes in King County will be up 4.6% this year. I'll take that. By the way, the long-term average going back almost 30 years is 5.5%. So we should be shy of that, but it's still positive. And you say, well, no, isn't that terrible? Again, add those numbers together. And for most of us, it's going to be okay. And so when you think about it in that respect, prices, yeah, they dropped last year. Obviously, I will take that increase. I just don't see any reason why. I think more of it's likely to come as we get into the second half of the year, assuming rates continue to trench their way down. That will start freeing up, hopefully, some inventory. There's still more demand than there is supply. The affordability part is an interesting way to look at it. So median price last year in King County was $875. Let's say you put 10% down, you're still going to have PMI, private mortgage insurance, and these are your monthly payments. If rates are at 4%, and they're what they are at 7.5%. You say, well, hang on. Okay, well, it's always people like lots of money, they put at least 20% down. The numbers are different, the percentages are exactly the same. That's why I love math, it doesn't lie. There's no grey, it's black and white. So it really is. But a more interesting way, I think, to look at it is that I do a kind of static equilibrium analysis and say, let's say that you are comfortable with a payment at, I think it's 4%. You could, okay, so you can buy $875, you're fine with that, at that payment. But if you wanted to keep that payment the same, but mortgage rates go up, well, you can pay that there, but if you want to keep the payment that you would have at 4%, the rate of 7.5%, guess what? You're spending over $220,000 less on a home to keep that payment the same. These are the impacts of mortgage rates. Really, remarkably simple. It's just mathematics. That acts as a headwind, sure. But again, I'm not worried about us. We've done great on housing. We really have. In almost all respects. And I do look at our kids. Where are they going to be? I said my youngest son's at Gonzaga at softball. He moved out when he went into his freshman year. I changed the locks on my house. I don't kid you, I really did. You get back to Dad, my key. Yeah, no, he doesn't, does it? Yes, your bedroom is now my office. We'll second half, I expect to see more in the way of listing activity. That's going to be a good thing. Prices will rise. Modest decline last year. You say modest, 4%, I'll take it this year. I was down giving a speech in Riverside, California, with a group, and they were saying we're still getting bidding wars, but it's got to be what they call the cream puff house. It's going to be something that's spot on, move-in ready, don't do any work on it, and they're getting bidding wars on those. So well-priced, well-positioned homes are certainly trading. Yeah, but will it be normal this year? I'd like to say yes. Nah, next year we could get closer to normal, but that's kind of it. So in closing, yeah, look, 45 minutes, spot on. What do I think? I think we went through a very, very unique time. I think that COVID, something there were no books written about it, about what to do, whether you're the Fed or anyone else, how to get through it. You certainly can't take it from the pandemic we had in 1915. So it's a very bizarre scenario. Now, a lot of people were saying it's going to demolish the housing market. Did it? No, it really didn't. And I think going forward, We need to bring on more supply, but do I think that owning your home is a good financial investment? Yeah, I mean, I do, we all do. Well, 65% of us own our homes, 35% rent, if you think about it nationally. Not for everyone, but is it still a dream? Yeah, I think it really is. And so, is it a place people want to live? Yeah, absolutely they do. But we need to get back to reality. I don't like home prices drop by 10, 12, 14%. Unsustainable. Rates will drop down, modest price growth to try and get back to something like normal.